Hey basketball coaches, today I'm going to talk to you about the difference between a 5-out and a 3-out 2-in basketball offense. When you would run either or, and of course, let's get down to the clipboard to check out these two basketball plays. So first off, just like the name implies, the 5-out offense is when you've got 5 players on the outside of the 3-point line. With the 3-out 2-in, however, you're going to have 3 players on the outside of the 3-point line and 2 players on the inside, usually both in the low post to start. Now, the biggest difference between the two offenses, other than the formation, is that a 5-out offense works really well against both a man-to-man and a zone defense. And I'm going to explain that later on in this video. However, really quickly, the 3-out 2-in offense is generally used mostly against a zone defense. The reason for that is because it can lead to many different overload opportunities where now you've got multiple players who are guarding single men, or you're in a position to have 2 offensive players being guarded by 1 defensive player, which is what the high to low pass is used for, because it draws up that middle defender so that you can have a high to low pass for a layup. Now that's just one simple option that you do get out of a 3-out 2-in. But again, there's a lot of different plays that you can run out of both of these sets. But now let's switch over to the 5-out. Now in a 5-out offense, and you're going up against a 2-3 zone, for example, we have 2 players up top in the zone. We have a player in the corner, a player in the paint, and then a player out in the other corner. Now, basically what we have is we're in a opportunity now with a 5-out, where now there's double team locations in those 3 spots, as well as down in the block between player 5 and the wing players. So when the ball is up top, you are going to be stretching out the defense quite a bit, because now you've got a double team up top, because that's right in the middle of their 2 zones. And because of that, you can now create so many different opportunities. For example, you could have player 1 pass to player 5, have player 1 screen away for player 4, and then have player 5 attack that high post, which is then going to collapse players 1 and 4. He could then kick that ball out, and player 3 could then drive or cut towards the rim and receive that pass while he's cutting towards the rim. Player 4 could then loop around to cover player 3's position. Player 5 could then pop back out, in which case now we have collapsed this defense to a point where now we have created an open shot with player 4. Now, this is just a simple play. They do get more advanced, but this is just a simple offense that I wanted to share with you today. Now, the 5-out offense is great for man-to-man and zone defenses. A 3-out 2-in can work against a man, but it's usually used against a zone defense. I've also chosen these 2 plays to put together against each other because they're both used at the youth level. I personally prefer the 5-out offense over the 3-out, and there's a reason for that. With the 5-out offense, you are teaching at the most basic plays for the 5-out. You are teaching the basics of basketball. So the 3 basic drills that every team will start with when they start running the 5-out is when the player who has the ball passes the ball, and he has 3 different options. He can cut towards the rim, he can screen for the ball handler he just passed to, or he can screen away. Those are the 3 basics. So if player 1 was to cut, player 5 needs to fill the point, player 2 needs to fill player 5's spot, and player 1 then pops out. If player 4 was to pass to player 3, player 4 would then screen away, or could screen away for player 5. Player 5 would then take that spot. Now this is the most basic of the offense. You can do so much more, and you really don't want to have your players sitting around for too long because of course they get bored, but then that just allows the defense to relax, and you don't want that. So anytime there's something happening on this side, we also want to have screen away on the other side, maybe a cut towards the basket. At the same time, you may get some open layups that way. There's so many different opportunities, but I just wanted to share this with you. Now with the 3-out, 2-in offense, there are some simple set plays that you could run, but they are not necessarily going to be great at the youth level. So number one is, this one is actually used quite well at the youth level, and that is starting with your bigs out on the wings and your smaller players in the low post, and have those bigs screen down for the smaller players down low. And now the reason why you would do this play is because, of course, now you're still in the 3-out, 2-in offense. It's just like a motion. However, what we're wanting to do here is to have, hopefully, let's say player 2 had player 2 guarding him, which is a small man. Player 4 is a big man. Player 4 screens down and they switch. That's what you're really hoping for, because now there's a mismatch down low that your taller player can take advantage of. So there are motions that work for both the 5-out and 3-out, 2-in. However, the 3-out generally has a lot of set plays when you're running up against a man-to-man defense, and a lot of motion offenses against the zone. Meanwhile, with the 5-out, it's primarily, mostly 99% of those plays are going to be a motion offense. I hope that this has kind of explained those two different offenses and differentiated them to be different from one another. If it has, hit that like button, subscribe. I hope I've given you some insight and some tips. If I have, of course, I will see you guys again in our next video.